Welcome to the first episode of the Quick Hitters podcast. I'm your host, Cooper O'Kelly, and a little bit about me, a little bit about the show. I'm a journalism student at the University of Illinois, and I'm starting this new show because I had the idea to kind of get a new sports podcast out there that's all about quick hitting segments that you get all the news about what's going on in the sports world, or you get to hear a little bit about different subjects, and the show will just be broken down into little segments like that. I'm really looking forward to getting this podcast up and going. I'm looking forward to producing good content for everyone that's listening. Thank you for tuning in to this first episode, and I really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get into it. First subject of today is going to be the Damian Lillard signing. So just under 24 hours ago from when I'm recording this, Damian Lillard signed a 3-year, $42 million deal with the Portland Trail Blazers. The team that, he rose to superstardom in, the team that drafted him, the team that he spent most of his career with. And the main thing that stood out to me from the Dame signing is that, it wasn't met with a lot of appreciation like I personally expected it was going to be. This whole Dame saga started, I guess, in the playoffs when he went down with a torn Achilles injury. And for everybody that knows, an NBA player trying to recover from a blown Achilles takes a very, very long time. So odds are good that Dame isn't going to play for at least the next calendar season. And at the time, he was a member of the Milwaukee Bucks, who, as soon as that happened, it kind of sent a panic to all Bucks fans, the Bucks organization, and just sent shockwaves through the NBA community just because, obviously, terrible injury to a great player, but also because some rumors started to swirl around about the status of Giannis Antetokounmpo, who people started to say that with Dame going down and the Bucks maybe not being in a great spot to compete for a title next season, he was maybe going to try and ask out of his contract and maybe try to go to a larger market team or try and find his way to a team that was more of an immediate contender so he could add to his resume and get his second ring. So upon hearing that, it seemed like the Bucks were trying to do anything and everything that they could to keep their superstar, their face of the franchise, maybe the best player, one of the best players that's ever played there, happy, and try and keep him on the team. Because when you're a small market team, players like that, they don't just happen to find their way onto your team too often. It's not like you're going out there and signing $100 million worth deals to new free agents. No, they drafted Giannis, they developed him, and he turned into a star for them and won them a championship. So their biggest desperation move to try and keep Giannis happy and try and make their team relevant in the title conversation was signing Miles Turner. And the only way they were able to do that is they cut Damian Lillard and spread out the remaining $113 million on his contract over a 5-year span, which took media personalities and NBA execs and fans by surprise. Social media was blowing up at the time. It was the highest ever monetary value of a deal to be spread out like that of all time. So kind of a shocking move that they would have that much in dead cap, but doing so gave them enough room to, go out and sign another guy that would probably help them compete. And that let Dame, he had his options open. He's not going to play in 2026, most likely. And money isn't really a concern for him because he's got that 100 plus million waiting for him. And people were speculating. We're like, okay, where is Dame going to go sign? Most people were saying teams like the Lakers or the Celtics or maybe the Timberwolves or something like that, where he could try and go and ring chase and get his first title once he's healthy and back to playing. And obviously, like I said, money wasn't really an object because he had a ton of money. So he didn't need to find a team with a ton of cap space. He could finagle his way onto any roster really for a solid veteran deal. That's not the route that he ended up taking. He ended up signing a homecoming deal of sorts to go back to Portland, which had a fair amount of criticism surrounding it, but I was actually a pretty big fan of the move, not just from his part, which I do respect that, he doesn't want a ring chase. He wants to go back to a team in a city that really appreciated him, that he started his career in, and he made tons of big plays and buzzer beaters and was nominated to all-star teams and all-NBA teams. Like, he did all that in Portland. So I understand why he'd want to go back. That's a community a fan base that loves him, that appreciates what he did for their team. So I love that move. I think it's really cool that he's going back to do that. People have also been criticizing the fact that the Blazers did it and went out and signed him to that deal, because at first glance it doesn't really coincide with what they're trying to do. And, they have a young team that it's going to be a lot of young players that need to develop and get minutes and, turn into better players by playing a lot. So they made the deal to go get Drew Holiday, and now they bring in Dame, two aging guards that, might take away minutes from players that need minutes more than anything else to try and find their way in the NBA. So I get that kind of debate, but I think that Dame is going to end up being a real mentor and leader for these guys, and I have to imagine that would play into, the Blazers front office's approach. That mentorship could go to guys like Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe and Donovan Clingan and Yang Hansen, all guys that are 24 and under. They're really young. They're trying to find their way in one of the most competitive leagues on the planet, in all sports. And having, a savvy vet that not only rose to stardom, but really was a superstar that could show them how to manage, practicing and showing up to games and off the court stuff and just being a leader in their locker room like Damian Lillard, I think that's going to be extremely beneficial to these guys and their development. And the price point, people have been complaining about that as well, saying that, the Blazers didn't need to go out and spend all that money on Dame, who can't play for a season and, might just halt the development of their stars, which I totally disagree with. To put things in perspective, Dame's going to be making $14 million around that annually. And some other players that are in that $14 million range, Jordan Clarkson, Corey Kispert, PJ Washington, and Denny Advia, which those four guys they're solid players. They're good players in the NBA that, can help contribute to winning basketball, and they have, their specific talents to them. But do I think that Damian Lillard is 1,000% on that level, and when he's healthy, is he way above that level? Yes, 100%. I'm not saying that Dame's going to come back from an Achilles tear at, his age and be the superstar that he once was, but I definitely think that he's going to be able to contribute way more than what that $14 million price tag says. So, in my opinion, I'm a big fan of the signing. I understand it from all perspectives. The Blazers, they're doing something for the fans. The fans love it. I don't know any Blazers fans personally, but I don't see why they wouldn't appreciate this. Dame's going to be able to help those young players. Who knows? He might end up finishing out his career in Portland at the end of this deal. All around, he's going to be a great locker room guy. He's going back to a city that loves him. He's going to be able to rehab and get back to hopefully full health and contribute there. So I'm a big fan of that move for sure, and I disagree with all of the criticism that's surrounding it. Next kind of segment here is the Spurs. They went viral in the past week or so. Jeremy Sohan posted a video to his Instagram story, I believe, of the core players of that, that Spurs young core group of guys, all hanging out together in the offseason, which, sounds cool to begin with, but what they were doing is getting together for synchronized swimming, which, I mean, you're just tuning into this episode. It's my first episode of a brand new show. You're like, this guy's going to talk about a clip of some guys in the NBA going synchronized swimming. Like, get off my screen. No, I genuinely believe, just stay with me now, I think that this is an indication that this Spurs team could be something special, not only down the road, but in this upcoming season. This is an indication of great off-the-court team chemistry, which ends up really benefiting teams that, want to compete and want to compete for titles. There's a couple teams that I have written down here that won championships that were known for being great friends as much as they were teammates. The first one that I have here, the Spurs, the old Spurs teams, it's something that's, not uncommon for this organization, that they're going to have a group of guys that, really meshes well together. And those Spurs teams that was made up of Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, Kawhi, Danny Green, all those guys, they had unbelievable, immaculate chemistry on the court. I mean, you've seen the clips of them throwing the ball around to open teammates that, you might not have seen if you're any other team. They were passing up open shots, making that extra pass to get just an even better shot. They were finding their teammates. They were playing winning basketball. They looked like one entity on the court that was just flowing at all times. And not only that, but they were super close off the court, it seemed like. And they had a series of commercials that they shot. I believe it was for HEB, where all those guys would go and they would shoot funny videos trying to promote a grocery store, and they would get dinner together on the road. And it really seemed like they were a group that was just tight knit, and they were competing for championships year in and year out. They were in the conversation. So that is a team that was really helped out by great chemistry. The next one I have here on my list, another NBA team, that 2012-2013 era Heat team that, obviously is characterized by the big three of LeBron, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, that was known to be a super close group. The trio of them, I mean, they decided to team up together and try and compete for titles together. They all, Dwayne Wade was already in Miami, but the three of them wanted to play together. They squatted up in South Beach. So everyone knew that they were close. They were friends. I think they're still friends to this day. But even the role players on that team were involved. And that's something that really was on full display in 2013 when they released a video that took the internet by storm. And that was the entire Heat roster doing the Harlem Shake to the song, the Harlem Shake, in their locker room, which was a major trend at the time. It was just like a goofy, funny, silly video where, all these guys who, even like LeBron, for example, was the biggest celebrity on the planet, one of the biggest celebrities on the planet during that time, best player in the NBA, and he's out there wearing a king's crown and a cape with no shirt on underneath, and he's dancing around to the song. And you had guys like Mario Chalmers was wearing a Super Mario outfit during the video. Chris Anderson was out there flapping his arms because he was the Birdman to start off the whole trend. And that just really showed how they were a squad that, was really tight-knit and not afraid to show off their personality, not afraid to, get together and just do dumb stuff together. They were having fun. I believe they released the video. They were on a 12-game win streak, so even when they were at the absolute height of their power, they were still out there having a good time and hanging out with one another. And they were known for, in their layup lines, they would have like pre-game dunk contests instead of like the typical layup lines. And they were famous for, they played a ton of card games on team planes on the way to big road trips and whatnot. So, I mean, that's another team where it shows that obviously you need your star players to be close, but when you incorporate all the role players, Chalmers, Anderson, Shane Battier, Mike Miller, Ray Allen, like all these guys were contributing to, doing fun stuff together. And, a dumb video like that might not jump off the page as being a reason why they're a good basketball team, but to me, that just shows how they were a close group, and they were another squad that was competing year in and year out. They were always in the conversation for winning an NBA title. The final team I have here is the 2015-16, 17 era Chicago Cubs, who obviously, as you can see, I'm a big fan. But during that time, they were one of the best teams in baseball. They ended up snapping a 108-year World Series deficit for the team, or drought, for the team, and brought a ring home to Chicago, which was unreal for fans and just the MLB landscape as well. But they were a team that was super tight knit and close, and it really showed. I mean, it all started. The first thing that comes to mind, it was sparked by Dexter Fowler, who was the team's center fielder. He was rumored to be signing a deal with, I believe it was the Baltimore Orioles, in free agency to find a new team and leave the Cubs, and which devastated a lot of the guys because he wasn't just a good player, which he was, but he was one of their friends, and it was hard for the team, and I think that they seemed bummed about it. But come February, March, they were down in Arizona getting ready for spring training, and all of a sudden Dexter Fowler walks up and is in street clothes and just completely surprises everybody, and it's like, I'm back, I'm signing here, this is my home. And I think the team's reaction to that, from what I remember, was overwhelmingly positive, and that's just a great example of showing how they were really happy to have their friend and teammate back. And they did tons of stuff that reflected that they were a tight-knit group. Like, they did themed road trips where players would be wearing matching tracksuits, or they'd all be wearing short shorts or jerseys, or they tried to dress up like characters from Anchorman. Like, they just did goofy stuff like that off the field. A lot of it was sparked by their manager, Joe Madden, that, kept vibes high, kept energy high, kept the group close, and, they had fun. Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, who were the stars of that team, did a series of commercials together where they worked for Brizzo Souvenir Company that, they took sales calls and were trying to sell home run baseballs to fans and consumers. And they were goofy, they were silly, whatever, they were funny. And they brought a lot of attention, not just to the Cubs, but to baseball. I think it was a good marketing play, and it really showed how, it seemed like Bryant and Rizzo weren't just teammates, they were close friends that were always laughing together. And the team as a whole was a very close-knit group. Like Jason Hayward, who the team had signed before 2016, massive deal. They were expecting him to be a huge contributor to the team, both defensively and offensively. But infamously, he struggled offensively with the Cubs at a lot of times. And no matter that people, fans or the baseball world said that, he wasn't worth that price tag, he ended up being the guy that brought the team together during Game 7 of the 2016 World Series, where there was a rain delay in the game and the Cubs were down at the time, and Hayward pulled all of them into a room and, gave them a speech of sorts to hype them up and bring them together. And the team ended up, banding together and coming back and winning the World Series after that speech. And I think that just kind of exemplifies how, they were a very close-knit group that had a lot of team chemistry. So my point in all of this is that that might be something that's going to be, in the near future for this San Antonio Spurs group. As of this morning, when I was doing my show prep, their win total on all major sports books was set at 43.5, and they were minus 166 to make the playoffs this season. So they're expected, to have some success and, make the playoffs in a very competitive Western Conference. But I think just a simple video of them going synchronized swimming together is an indication that they're going to be a really tight group, and they're going to be a team that, might surprise a lot of people in this upcoming NBA season, and they might elevate their timeline up and be really competitive in the 2026 season. So shout out to that Spurs team. Shout out to team chemistry, of course. Our third and final topic here is going to be All-Star games. The MLB All-Star game just concluded a couple days ago. I watched the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby to both their entireties. The Home Run Derby did not disappoint. It's the best event in sports All-Star games. It's better than the dunk contest. It's better than the three-point contest. It's better than the skills competition, the NFL, NBA, NHL, whatever. It didn't disappoint at all. The MLB's current home run leader, Cal Raleigh, ended up taking home the trophy. He had a great performance, something that we all expected from a guy that has really made a name for himself, and his nickname is really going viral right now as he's known as the Big Dumper, which I think is hilarious. And yeah, I mean, it was a great event. It always is. It would be even better if guys like Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani and young stars like Pete Crow Armstrong all wanted to go out and do the Home Run Derby. It'd be even better than what it was this year. But nonetheless, it was still a great event. As for the actual All-Star game itself, year in and year out, the MLB All-Star game is the best across the four main sports in America. And the main reason for that is just that the players are actually trying. Like, that is the only All-Star game where you can, watch and see that all the players on both sides are actively trying to win the game, and they're doing their best to try and put on for their team and their city and their league, the National League or the American League, whichever they're representing. And yeah, I think that that's something that all All-Star games should try and get up to speed with, because I'm someone that watches all the All-Star games in most of the leagues whenever they're on, even though they get a lot of hate for being lackluster all the time. I still tune in, and the MLB one is by far hands and away the best. It's the best. This year it had the swing off instead of, the game was tied going into what would have been extra innings, but was replaced by each team sent out 3 guys to go out and take 3 swings to hit as many home runs as they can, and whoever hit the most would win. So it was like an impromptu home run derby. The National League ended up coming out on top, mostly thanks to Kyle Schwarber, who, former Cub, shout out to him, went out there and hit a home run on all 3 of the pitches that he saw and took a swing at. So that was super impressive. It was electric to watch. And yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I think All-Stars across all the sports should be trying. I get the argument that, baseball is a non-contact sport, whereas in basketball or football or hockey, guys could be putting their bodies on the line and possibly getting hurt, which would jeopardize their season. I get that. That's fair, but we've seen how appealing and how electric NBA All-Star games can be when players actually, give it their all and try to win and play defense. In 2020, the All-Star game was in Chicago. It was, kind of a dedication to Kobe and Gianna Bryant after their passings, and you saw guys giving it their all, and for good reason. They wanted to win the game and honor one of the best basketball players ever. And Kyle Lowry was out there like taking charges, putting his body on the line. Every player was actually playing defense, and it was great. It was, in my lifetime, the best All-Star game I've ever seen. I would assume it's probably one of the best, ever. Um, and that was just a way for it actually to be appealing. This season, the NHL got rid of their All Star game. They took a break from it, at least, and they put on the Four Nations Cup, a tournament between four different countries all competing to win a tournament. And the final game, the showdown, was between the USA and Canada. And I'm not a hockey fan. I watched every second of it. All my friends, whether they're hockey fans or not, or barely even interested in sports, everybody was tuned into that final game because there was so much buzz around it. There were so many viewers. Every social media clip I saw had millions of views. The numbers were off the charts, and it was because the guys were actually trying to win. They were putting it all out on the ice for their country, trying to win, bring them a title. Even it wasn't like this was on par with the Olympics. It was an exhibition game. But still, they were trying to do their best to win and take home the Four Nations Cup. Like the Tkachuk brothers were starting fights and laying other people out in an exhibition game. It was wild, and it was awesome. It was great to watch, and I think that was a great move by the NHL. It shows that if players have an incentive to try and go out there and compete, they're going to do it. And thankfully, I think Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, took some inspiration for that. And in 2026, the NBA All-Star Game is going to be in a USA versus World format. So they're going to take all the All-Stars that are American and pit them against all the All-Stars that come from all the other countries in the world. And I would hope that you're going to see some similar results, and it's going to be in a more intense competition than all the NBA All-Star games we've seen in the past 5 years, because guys are going to want to go out there and win for their country. There's going to be a sense of pride to it, and I'm really excited for that. It's going to be different from, guys jogging up the court and not playing defense at all or chucking half quarters. It's going to be quality basketball, and I think that was a great move. I haven't really touched on the NFL's All-Star game, the Pro Bowl at all, and to be honest, that's kind of a lost cause. They switched to flag football this past season. It's like the most irrelevant All-Star game in sports, which I get. Players don't want to get hurt, but still, it's lackluster. It's not entertaining. I don't even know if it's really worth arguing about. But all in all, super positive experience being a fan of this past MLB All-Star game and All-Star event. And I'm really looking forward to see that the NBA might be changing things up and the NHL might be changing things up. So that's a good. I think All-Star games are way better when players have an incentive, and it just creates a better product, more buzz for the sport. And yeah, it was fantastic. So yeah, that will conclude today's three main topics. Something I'm going to be doing on most shows, I think, is shouting out maybe a player or a team you haven't heard of in a while. So today is for the debut show. We're going with the unsung hero of the 2010s Bulls, Kirk Heinrich. Captain Kirk spent 13 seasons in the NBA. He's still among the top 5 Bulls leaderboards for assists, steals, minutes played. He's one of those first guys that I can remember from being a basketball fan of the gritty hustle, hard-nosed defender that was diving for loose balls and picking up star players when he had to. And he was capable offensively, like I mentioned, the assists. He was a good floor general. He could score when he had to. He really stepped up when Derrick Rose went down with his major injuries. So shout out to Kirk Heinrich. Thank you so much for tuning in to this first episode of the Quick Hitters podcast. This is something that I'm going to be trying to do in a weekly or maybe every other week format. I'm going to be trying to stay consistent with uploads and trying to get you guys, some great content. spreading the word about what's going on in the sports world, what's going on in pop culture, whatnot. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Any suggestions or comments, what you think I should be doing to make this show better, make it a better experience, please let me know in the comments or just let me know. I'm more than happy to switch things up. I'm sure this is going to be something that I make a lot of changes to here in the early stages. And by the next episode, it might have a totally different format, but we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. I'm really excited to get things going, and I hope you enjoyed this first episode. Appreciate you for listening,